the smartest person in the room never looks like it. They're the one sitting quietly in the corner, the one who zones out mid-conversation, the one who talks to themselves, sleeps at 3 a.m., and spends hours learning things nobody asked them to learn. The world sees weird, science sees genius. Today, I'm going to show you 10 daily habits that researchers and cognitive psychologists have directly linked to extraordinarily high intelligence. And I guarantee at least 3 of these are going to feel uncomfortably personal. Habit 1, they talk to themselves. And no, it's not a red flag. It's a cognitive strategy when a mind is processing multiple layers of a problem simultaneously. Speaking out loud creates structure. Cognitive psychologists call this private speech, and studies confirm it sharpens focus, accelerates problem solving, and reduces mental errors. Highly intelligent people aren't confused when they talk to themselves. They're debugging out loud in real time at a level most people's brains never operate at. Habit 2, they stare into nothing. On purpose, you've seen it. They go completely blank, eyes empty, body still. Looks like laziness. Feels like laziness. It is the opposite of laziness. Neuroscientists call this the default mode network, the brain's background processing system. When the mind appears idle, this network activates and begins making deep, unexpected connections between unrelated ideas. Einstein, Darwin, Newton, their biggest breakthroughs didn't come during intense work sessions. They came during walks, during silence, during nothing. The pause isn't empty. The pause is where genius actually lives. Habit 3, they cannot stand small talk. This isn't arrogance. This is neurology. The highly intelligent brain is wired to seek depth in ideas, in problems, in conversations. When a discussion stays surface level, their brain registers it the same way a sports car registers a traffic jam. The engine is running, nothing is moving. Research on gifted adults shows they maintain fewer friendships, but those friendships run significantly deeper than average. They're not antisocial, they're waiting for a conversation that actually goes somewhere real. Habit 4, they question everything, and it frustrates everyone around them. Rules, systems, social norms, accepted wisdom, inherited assumptions. While everyone else has already moved on, the high IQ mind is still running a background check. Does this actually make sense? Why does this work this way? Who decided this, and were they right? Their prefrontal cortex never fully stops fact-checking reality. This is one of the core neurological markers of high cognitive ability. And in everyday life, it makes them the person who asks too many questions, who challenges things unnecessarily, and who, more often than not, turns out to be right. Habit 5, their sleep schedule makes no sense. They're up at 2 a.m. They crash at noon. They sleep in patterns that make zero sense to the people around them. This is not poor discipline. Multiple large-scale studies have confirmed a direct link between high intelligence and evening chronotype, what most people call being a night owl. The highly intelligent brain enters an active, exploratory state at night that simply refuses to shut down on command. Their mind doesn't follow society's schedule. It follows its own internal rhythm. And that rhythm almost never matches the rest of the world. Habit 6, they learn things. They'll never use. They spend 3 hours researching the economic history of a country they'll never visit. They study a skill they'll never professionally apply. They fall into rabbit holes that lead absolutely nowhere practical, and they don't care, because for them, the destination was never the point. Psychologists call this need for cognition, an intrinsic, almost biological drive to think, explore, and understand purely for the sake of understanding. No application required, no end goal needed. The learning is the reward. And this single habit reveals more about how a high IQ mind is wired than almost anything else. Habit 7, they spot hypocrisy, instantly say one thing, do another. They notice they might not say anything, they usually don't. But their pattern recognition registers the inconsistency immediately and files it away permanently. This makes them exceptional judges of character over long periods of time, but it also means they can become quietly, completely disillusioned with someone, and that person will never understand what changed or why. High IQ people don't forget contradictions. They just wait to see if a pattern forms. Habit 8, they are their own harshest critics, not in a self-destructive way, in a relentlessly precise, intellectually honest way. Cognitive psychologists call this metacognition, the ability to observe and evaluate your own thinking from the inside. The more intelligent the mind, the more clearly it can see its own potential for error, bias, and incomplete reasoning. They are constantly editing themselves, revisiting conclusions, questioning whether what they believe is actually as solid as it seems. Most people find certainty comfortable. Highly intelligent people find certainty suspicious. Habit 9. They need to know. The why tell them what to do. Their brain immediately asks why. This is not defiance. This is cognitive architecture. Without understanding the logic behind a rule, a system, or an instruction, they cannot fully commit to it. The reasoning isn't a bonus feature. The reasoning is the foundation. Without it, the instruction feels incomplete, arbitrary, and impossible to fully internalize. This is why highly intelligent people often struggle inside rigid institutions, not because they can't follow rules, because they need to understand the rules before those rules feel real. Habit 10. They are genuinely, deeply comfortable alone. This is perhaps the quietest habit and the most revealing. Most people experience extended solitude as something to escape. Highly intelligent people experience it as something to protect, not because they don't value human connection, but because their inner world, the ideas, the patterns, the questions running constantly beneath the surface, is rich and complex enough to occupy them completely. Silence isn't emptiness to them. Silence is space. Space to think without interruption. Space to process without performance. Space to be exactly who they are without explanation. They don't just tolerate solitude. They need it, the way the rest of the world needs conversation. Look at all 10 of these habits together and notice something important. None of them are about showing intelligence. None of them are loud or dramatic or designed to impress. They are quiet, internal, private, because real intelligence was never about the performance. It's a fundamentally different way of experiencing reality, one with its own rhythms, its own needs, and its own intensity that the world doesn't always recognize. But here's what I want you to sit with. How many of these felt like you? Drop your number in the comments. And if this hit differently than you expected, you already know why.